We got the details of the big hotfix patch. Buffs to Ana, Ramattra, Orisa, nerfs to Sojourn, Tracer, Kiriko, and Doomfist, as well as further information about upcoming changes in the mid-season. Alec Dawson featured on Emongg and Flats' stream to discuss the changes, and we'll break them down quickly here for you today after a quick message from today's video sponsor. Today's video sponsor is Enlisted, a new type of FPS game that uniquely couples PvP with PvE combat. Command a squad of AI soldiers and fight in massive battles with hundreds of targets led by other players. Enlisted offers multiple campaigns to play through featuring their own unique weapons and vehicles and equipment, from the outskirts of Moscow 1941 to the heart of Berlin 1945. You can play now on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, current gen or last gen. Enlisted is a game approachable for all kinds of players. For casuals, because of the scale of the combat, there's something for every skill level to do, but the game's also hardcore where it matters, with a small time to kill for infantry, realistic damage on the vehicles. The battles are intense, immersive, and fun. I'm a big fan of the scale of the combat, how immersed you can get into the entire battlefield. Great details on the weapon models, and when you combine that with the smoke and fire, the gameplay will suck you right in. Register to play using our link in the description and you'll get a free bonus pack. They need you on the front line, soldier. Take our link in the description and try out Enlisted today. One hero that's going to be absent from the patch notes is Roadhog, who had changes that weren't able to make it based on technical difficulties. Hog changes you can expect in January, separate from the mid-season patch when they're done. They're looking to change his one-shot capability and give him a bit of a soft rework for the 5v5 environment, which would seem to imply he's going to get a lot tankier, maybe more brawly, but far less high damage. They might even be reworking how some of his abilities work, but we'll have to wait for January to see that. Now, this hotfix patch, at the time of recording, they weren't sure if it was going to come out today or tomorrow, so keep that in mind. But these changes are coming, and the first one is to Doomfist. Rocket Punch cooldown has been increased from 3 to 4 seconds, and they changed his power block to now require the minimum damage mitigated required to empower Rocket Punch back to 100. In fact, I think it's above where it was. It used to be 90, if I recall correctly. That's an important number because, as you guys have correctly pointed out, Sigma's Rock in Overwatch 2 actually does 100 damage. But Orisa's Spear, if you don't send them into the wall, will be under the threshold. So there's certain stuns you can get in on the power block that won't do enough damage to give him the gauntlet. Also, the temporary health he gains per hit with his abilities has gone down to 35. And since they played with that number so much in Overwatch 1 as well, I feel like the stacking effect that has when you're decent at Doom was just an easy thing that was so clearly too much. Because you start to brawl and then you can continue to stay in, and your decision making is allowed to be a lot less tactical when these temporary shields are too high. Keep in mind, Doomfist still retains a lot of the other buffs, for example, gaining empowered gauntlet when he uses his ultimate. Next up is Orisa, whose ultimate Terra Surge now pierces through barriers upon impact. An absolutely massive buff. Now, brawling against a character like Reinhardt, he can no longer pivot his shield in order to protect him and his team from the ultimate. And characters like Sigma and Ramattra get affected in a similar way. They also buffed Orisa's augmented fusion driver, where the damage falloff range has been increased from 15 to 25 meters. Okay, so that's where the damage begins to fall off, and 25 meters is basically as far as you would ever want to be fighting. Orisa was already a sleeper pick with strong matchups against some of the brawlier tanks like Doomfist and Roadhog. I think she's going to look good up against Ramattra as well, if not for the fact that Ramattra also got some big buffs. In Nemesis form, his movement speed has been increased by 20%, and the armor buff that he gets from transforming also was increased. He did get 150 health, now it's 75 more, so he gets a total of 225 armor health. Moving faster and way tankier, and armor health in Overwatch 2 is insane. And oh yeah, he can block in this form too. And yes, of course, all of these buffs apply to him when he's in his ultimate, which transforms him automatically into Nemesis form. So this means he'll be running you down faster. It'll be harder to get away from the ultimate, buffing it in entirety, and way harder to kill him. Maybe too hard. I'm gonna be real. especially with some of the support buffs that you'll be excited to hear about. Another buff on his Void Barrier, the cooldown has been reduced from 15 to 13 seconds, which might look small, but considering he's going to be channeling all his abilities, it gets them a bit closer together, meaning his gameplay loop is going to be pretty constant. But one of the other bigger buffs to this, in my opinion, we're going to see when it comes to the support buffs. But first, the damage nerf to Sojourn. Her primary fire spread has been increased by 28%. Okay, so not quite a third, but the cone of her random hit fire goes up a lot, meaning it's a lot harder to hit targets to even build up reliably to your railgun at all. I think this is quite a large nerf, considering you used to be able to track squishy targets somewhat reliably. Now I think you might not feel you get much charge unless you're farming a tank, or you're at closer ranges where Sojourn doesn't necessarily want to be. Disruptor Shot no longer slows enemy movement, which kind of kills the ability as far as I'm concerned. The damage on it, I don't know, it like comboed in Grav, I guess, but that's quite a massive buff. And Power Slide's cooldown loses a second. It now is 7 seconds instead of 6. But these are multiple nerfs that are causing her to fight closer to the enemy. I honestly think they might have just overdid it. Okay, so I think she might just be dead. Prior to this, attaching a Mercy Pocket to her sort of enabled a new playstyle that made her even better than Season 1 in some respects. Now you might feel that that Mercy pick is going to be absolutely required to even function as a character, but I don't know, I play Echo and Pharah and they kind of feel the same, so maybe it's fair in the end, but it's just mainly that the range damage dealer role in Overwatch is so competitive that as soon as Ashe or Widow is better, and that might be the case here now, seeing how much distance control Sojourn's losing, it's hard for me to see why you would pick her over some of those other options now. Next up, a small nerf to Tracer, where her damage goes to 5.5. At the 6 damage value, they said she was kind of popping off. At 5 damage, it felt you had to be perfect to even play her at all. Next up, the support category, Ana's Biotic Rifle. Damage and healing gains 5. And the Biotic Grenade's effect duration goes up a second from 3 to 4 again. Back to the value where we said it was like game-changing, so incredibly powerful, but of course there wasn't a cleanse back then. Some important information to think about the context of the game is at 75 damage per shot, Biotic Rifle can 3-shot Cassidy, who's at 225 health, 2-shot a Tracer, who's at 150, and the thing everyone keeps bringing up about Biotic Grenade is the duration of anti-nade, where 4 seconds really marks that target for death and makes it easy for your team to overwhelm the tank or whatever you put it on. That's definitely true. That extra second gives the team enough time to overwhelm a slow target and guarantee you focus it down before it can get saved, unless it gets Suzu'd, of course. But since Suzu is in the game, I think one of the surprise factors of Biotic Grenade is the effect of extra healing on your tank. They just buffed Ramattra's overall health pool to an insane degree. So that 4 seconds of Biotic Nade applies to him, and she heals more with her rifle anyway. All those numbers just simply go up. More overall health, more healing, and the heal buff effect applies to your other support as well, or onto yourself when you're saving yourself. So Ana's overall power went up, but also healing in the game, and specifically keeping your tank alive, is a lot better now. Don't get trapped into targeting that enemy Ramattra or Orisa if there's an Ana pocket sitting behind them. You're never going to kill them. And if that is so oppressive, it might bring back something like Winston Bubble waiting in the wings just to manipulate that line of sight. If that is equal to like thousands of points of health, there's no point to take the tank battle, and we'll go back to more diving, I think, potentially. One last change in the patch notes, Kiriko's Protection Suzu invulnerability duration has been reduced from 1 second to 0.85 seconds. So a very small change there, but every moment of being unable to die matters, I suppose. Alec Dawson on the stream said that they're looking to try to get the supports up to Kiriko's level, where she's quite fun and powerful and impactful. And a few extra questions that were asked on the live stream. Alec Dawson said the Sojourn situation from Season 1 was disappointing. Since they both had the data to prove that she was too strong and player sentiment, they should have made a change sooner, and are hoping to have a regular cadence of balance with these hotfixes to tune things, but at the same time do want to stay committed to the idea of the big seasonal changes that are chunkier. Like, let's say we want to make Doomfist good as a concept or principle for the season, but not the whole game out of balance. So big fundamental changes can be expected at the start of the season and a larger pass at it for the midseason, but these hot fixes to tune it in between is what it seems like they're going to be doing. When asked about Junker Queen, Alec Dawson said in the midseason, there's going to be a few more things coming to her and a few more buffs. Remember, that 4 seconds of heal buff applies to Junker Queen and Reaper as well, who have lifesteal. I think she's still pretty weak, and considering we've got other tanks that are unkillable on the front line anyway, that's like not a necessary combo, but one you can consider in your quick play games when you're not throwing ranked. That's gonna be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave the video a like, and to support the channel, check out today's video sponsor, Enlisted. You're needed on the front line, soldier. If Overwatch's balance patch ain't working for you, mix things up with the large-scale battles with Enlisted. Take the link below to check it out. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.